what about Bob? So
Yeah,
this
this
one's
is a
very
90s
simple.
movie.
This one's very simple, very straightforward.
Right. This is made in the 90s.
1991.
Yeah, very early 90s movie. So it's got those
Very
vibes.
early 90s movie.
You'll notice there are no cell phones
Yeah.
in the movie.
It's one of those it subverts your expectation and then continues to subvert your next expectation after that.
It's one of those movies that you're just like, you see it and you're like, this can't get any crazier. And it just continues to escalate to the end of the movie.
Yeah, and it does continue just to get crazier.
Yeah, the end of the movie you would
weird.
never predict.
Yeah. So we got our main character, Bob Wiley,
Wiley.
and he's got problems. He doesn't like being in public. He gets overwhelmed by noise. He's basically my wife, but Bill Murray.
He's neurotic, and he's got that. I didn't say that was.
He's got a fish.
He does have fish, but he also has that thing. What's it called? Where you think you have like a disease
hypochondriac.
Yeah, so he's a little bit of a hypochondriac.
Yeah.
Intermittent Tourette's, apparently.
Yeah, he's also a germaphobe.
Yeah, so he's got a lot of things. He's antisocial. He's
and we see him go out in public and basically
it's a struggle.
Get overwhelmed by it.
Yeah, it's a struggle. So.
And then we got our antagonist, I guess, is what you would call him in this story.
Yeah.
Dr. Leo Marvin. Leo Marvin. And
it starts with another psychiatrist calling Leo Marvin.
Yeah, because he's
like,
got
I'm closing. He's like, I'm closing my practice. I'm done.
He said, I'm going away for a while.
Yeah,
and I have a patient that I would like to refer to you because he needs someone who's got way more expertise than I do.
Yeah, he's the guy was flattering him. He's like, I'm calling in a ringer, because you're the best.
Yeah, and this guy will need the best. And Marvin's like, well, maybe I'll pencil him in after Labor Day because he's about to go on a month-long vacation.
Yeah.
He doesn't pencil him in for after Labor Day. He pencils him in like the day before he leaves.
No. I think it's literally the same day.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because he was supposed to leave that next day.
Yeah, and his secretary, he's like, hey, can you set up an appointment? He's like, he's actually here right now.
That's right. And so
he just walks into his office.
Yeah, so Bob Wiley walks in and he goes, hey, Doc, I got all these problems. Who is this on the wall? Is this your beautiful family? What are their names?
Oh, wait.
He tries to guess the names.
I'm really good at this.
He's really bad at guessing the names, but he learns all of their names and who they are. Then he sits down. He goes, listen, Doc, I got all these problems. Sometimes I don't even know, like, what's possibly wrong with me. And then he just starts, like, shouting profanities, and Marvin goes, well, what was that? He goes, it's Tourette's. He goes, you don't have Tourette's. He goes, no, but if I pretend like I have them, then it's better when I don't, or something like that.
Something like that.
And he's like, oh, okay, that's weird. And he's like, yeah, it's like a cardiac arrest. And then he fakes a cardiac arrest. And he goes, you know what you need, Bob? You need this book by this brilliant man. It's a book that he had just written called Baby Steps.
Baby Steps.
And Bob Wiley goes, oh, my God, this is so brilliant. You're so smart and so handsome. And I could kiss you right now. You really saved me, Doc. I don't know what I'd do without you.
And then they start making out.
Very overreacting to the point where I was like, damn, he's a little out of it. And he says, well, you and I can talk about it more when I get back from my vacation in a month. And he goes, yeah, that sounds great. We'll definitely do that. And then he leaves, goes back to his apartment, and immediately calls the office where some lady named Betty answers, and he's like, I need to talk to Dr. Marvin.
Yeah.
And she goes, oh, sorry, Dr. Marvin's out, but Dr. Humphrey has taken over from me. He goes, yeah, he told me that, but I lost his phone number. He never had his phone number. And I need to get a hold of him. It's an emergency. And she goes, well, Dr. Humphrey can help you out. He goes, but you don't have to give me the number. You can just put him on the line and just transfer the calls. Could you do that for me? And so she calls Dr. Marvin on his first day of his family vacation and interrupts his family vacation so that Bob could get on the phone. And as soon as Bob gets on the phone, she says it's an emergency. Bob gets on the phone and he goes, "Hey, you just gonna hog all that New Hampshire to yourself? How's it going up there? You and the brood doing good?" And he goes, "Hey, I really gotta go. I've got Bonnie's trying to steal headphones. I got vacation I gotta go to." And he goes, "Oh, okay, well, you can call me back maybe." And he goes, I'll see you in a month. We'll make an appointment when I'm back." And that's not good enough for Bob. So Bob, he calls again, right?
He calls back pretending to be.
Oh yes, he calls
the sister.
He calls back pretending to be Dr. Marvin's sister Lily.
Yeah.
And
and you can imagine he doesn't take
it's an emergency.
Yeah, he doesn't take too kindly to that.
Yeah,
when he finds out that it's.
And at that point, he's like, "Hey, it's kind of crazy that you're doing that. I'm on vacation. You can't be doing that."
Yeah.
And so what does Bob?
So he respects that, and he doesn't escalate any.
Yeah,
further.
he doesn't escalate any further, and he waits a month.
Except for
and that's the whole movie. Why are you pointing? What are you pointing for? We'll deal with that in like 20 minutes. just throw it down for a minute. Okay. So we're joking. Bob actually takes it one step further, and he shows up.
I would say a few steps further.
A few steps further. He shows up to the office,
to the call center,
and pretends to be a detective, saying that one of Dr. Marvin's patients, Bob Wiley, just committed suicide, and they need to investigate. And so, and they're like, "Oh, well, we can call him right now and let him know." And he goes, "No, let's not do that. I'll just send somebody out in the morning,
and he's like,
but let me know where he's at so that I can send a detective to go talk to him."
Yeah.
And so they give him the address to the house in New Hampshire where he's having his vacation, and Bob doesn't do anything with that. He actually doesn't escalate any further. Okay, you can go do that. Just stay on one of us. Is it on me? Great. So we'll be right back. She's got to deal with little cat stuff. She has problems. So Bob takes baby steps onto a bus to New Hampshire and brings his fish in a jar around his neck, and they take a little trip up. And then we see a little bit of what's going on with Dr. Marvin. He's having some problems with his family and has an interview for his new book coming up, like in the next couple of days. And he's kind of freaking out about it all.
Yeah, it's the biggest moment of his career. He's super excited about it. He's going to be on TV.
And everyone has to figure out what's going on with that.
Yeah, he's going to promote his book and be the best ever.
Yeah, so they're like picking out outfits, getting groceries to feed everybody, all the fun stuff. Meanwhile, Bob Wiley shows up to New Hampshire, literally just steps off the bus and goes, "Dr. Leo Marvin."
Yeah, he's just
Dr. Leo Marvin.
He's literally just shouting in the middle of town.
Dr. Leo Marvin. But as serendipity shows, Dr. Marvin's there getting groceries and sees Bob Wiley get off the bus and goes, "Oh, we need to get in our car and run away. Run away as fast as we can." And he gets confronted by Bob. And he's like, "Oh my God, is this a bad time?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm on vacation." He goes, "Oh, I just figured I just needed some help, and you're just so good at your job and helping me. I look, the baby steps got me all the way here. I'm willing to put the work in. I'm putting the work in for it, Doc." He's like, "That's great. Go home." And then he drives off without Bob. And actually what he says is, "I'll call you at 4 to this coffee shop if you just sit and wait."
Yeah.
And so Bob's sitting there in the coffee shop going, "Baby steps till 4. Baby steps till 4. Baby steps till 4. And the owners of the coffee shop are like, "What are you waiting on?" He says, "Dr. Leo Marvin's going to call me at 4 o'clock." And they go, "Oh, that asshole? Fuck that guy. He bought the house that we wanted.
Yeah, we know
exactly where he is. We'll just drive you there."
Yeah.
So instead of waiting till 4 o'clock, they drive him to the big, beautiful house. And he goes, "Look, Dr. Marvin, I made it all the way here. They dropped me off, and he looks out the window, and the two coffee shop owners are like,
yeah, basically.
Drive off.
They're like, yeah, the house looks nice.
Yeah,
asshole.
Beautiful house. And oh man, the echo got worse. I'll talk quieter. It's okay. And then Dr. Wiley or Dr. Marvin takes him outside and he goes, "Look, I'm going to write you a prescription." He goes, no pills. I don't want any pills. And he goes, "This is a prescription that says you are to take a vacation from your problems. Whenever one of your problems bubbles up, you have to remind yourself, I'm taking a vacation from my problems. This isn't a vacation from life or from work, just your problems." And he goes, "This is the most brilliant thing I've ever heard, Doc. You're such a lifesaver and so beautifully handsome. I could just kiss you all over the place." He doesn't say that, but he basically says that. And he goes, "Thank you so much. Please leave me alone forever now." And then something. Oh no, he goes back to. They go back to the house, and he goes, "Hi, I'm Bob Wiley," to his wife and his daughter. And they're like, he's a weird guy.
Yeah. At this point, as a viewer, I'm feeling very like, this guy.
Yeah, call the cops.
Is the worst.
Yeah. Call the police.
I mean, because let's tally this so far. So he's basically.
He shows up without an appointment.
He shows up without an appointment.
He calls when he knows he's not there and forces his way on the phone.
Yeah, he
does it again.
Yeah, he forces his way to talk to his psychiatrist while he's on vacation twice. Mm-hmm. His third time, he pretends to be dead.
Yeah.
He says that he committed suicide in order to get information to stalk him to his vacation.
To New Hampshire.
Yes, shows up.
So we're 5 already, 5 weird things.
And then he
finds him in New Hampshire and just starts shouting for him.
Yes. And then he shows up to his house unannounced by the people at the cafe or whatever it is that they run.
That's my phone.
And they take him
7.
Yeah. So yeah.
And now he's introducing himself to his therapist's family.
And that alone is
8 weird things.
That alone is extremely unacceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Cops would have been called restraining order at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like at that point I would have escalated to restraining order, get this guy out. Like I can't keep him as a patient. He's crossed the boundaries of patient to doctor relationship multiple times within 2 days. Basically. So.
Yeah. And then he sends Bob on his way back into town or wherever. And it's like, "Oh, great. Leave me alone now." Yeah. And on his way out, Dr. Marvin's daughter is driving on her way out to go to what I miss.
So what happened was, I think,
he did say
he ends up. Oh, maybe you're right.
The Dr. Marvin's like, "Hey, nobody interact with him ever again.
Yeah,
thanks.
Don't talk to that guy. Stay away from that guy."
And so his daughter is on the way out.
Pretty normal, solid advice.
Yeah, for sure. His daughter's on the way out to go hang out with some of her friends and sees
they're gonna go
Bob.
Sailing.
Yeah, sees Bob walk in and says, "Hey, do you want to ride into town?" So she drives him, and she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go sailing with my friends. If you want to come." And he goes, "Oh no, I can't go sailing. I've never done that before. That sounds scary." Well, maybe I'll go sailing.
Yeah, he's like, if the boat's seaworthy and stuff like that, he's like, I think
cut straight to him tied to the mast. I'm sailing. Yeah, I'm sailing.
There's a close up of him like on the boat, and you can only see like his face and shoulders, and he's I'm sailing, and then you see that truly he's just tied to the boat, so he won't be sloshing around or whatever. So that he can actually make it through that.
And experience. So they pass Dr. Marvin while he's trying to teach his son to dive because his son's scared of diving.
Dr. Leo Marvin.
And he's trying to do the like dad thing where he's like inching him closer and closer to going into the water. And he's like, "I won't drop you unless you're comfortable. I won't do it." And he sees Bob and drops his son into the water out of shock.
So all trust is lost.
Yeah, so all trust is lost.
Youngest child, Siggy.
Yeah.
And
his son's name is Sigmund.
Yeah, Siggy for short. And so
Sigmund Freud. Yeah.
And so, but one thing to note that I want to note is that in the car ride, Bob really kind of endeared himself to the daughter because he
listened.
And he listened, and he was able to express
and
her
empathized.
and empathize. I feel those same feelings that you feel. This is a normal thing. Like
Bonnie has made it back and is under the couch.
Yeah. So yeah, and then immediately after that,
Bob's like, look,
goes
I'm a sailor.
pier.
I'm a sailor.
Yeah.
Isn't this a great step that I took? And Dr. Marvin goes, that's great. You continue to be a sailor. Anna, my daughter, come here. I have to talk to you. Get away from that psychopath. No, I'm not going to get away from that psychopath. He's fun.
Still very solid advice.
And that's where that conversation went. And that's, and then we cut to
daughters. Am I right?
Yeah, true. Neither of us have one.
Nope. And neither of us have been one.
Neither of us have been one either. That's true. Millie, would you like to say something about being a daughter? Thank you, puppy. She was taking a nap. So we cut to Bob now talking to his son, Siggy. Yeah, you got like a small Millie on your side now.
I'm hearing crashes from the other room.
It's Orb.
I think it's more Bonnie.
Oh, Bonnie is underneath the couch right now.
No, I watched her run out.
Oh, never mind then.
Then I heard her cry.
Nah, it's fine. They're fine. So he's talking to Siggy, and Siggy's like, hey, I'm just so scared of dying. I don't even trust my dad anymore. And Bob's like, yeah, I just went sailing for the first time. That's crazy. I can't imagine diving, though. And so they have a talk about it, and Siggy's like, well, here, I'd probably help you, like, get over your fear of diving. I've done enough with my dad to try it. And so they work at it, and he's like, no, I just can't do it. And Siggy's like, well, no, we'll just try it. And Siggy dives in.
Yeah, in a way that he's teaching.
In a way that he's teaching.
Because he's helping someone who is more scared than himself. And then now he has to put himself in a position, well, maybe it's not that scary.
Yeah,
look, if I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
And then the whole family runs out and is like, I'll take over. We'll take over from here. And Dr. Marvin pushes Bob into the water, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, Bob! We got to make sure he's okay." And this is where we start getting the like, what's going on here?
Yeah, this is where. Excuse me. This is where Dr. Leo Marvin is no longer passive in his disdain. He's actively like. Mm-hmm. Like him pushing him into the water, but also we get to see a lot about Dr. Marvin's character. He's, like I mentioned to you before we started recording, he's very self-centered. He's very his
he's
environment. Yes, he's the man. He's got to control everything. It has to go the way that he wants it. It has to be the way that he wants it. And that's what was translated to his son Siggy is like, hey, when I was your age, I learned how to dive and I loved it. And you need to learn the way that I did. And you must learn the way that I did when I was your age. And there's no flexibility there. He's very like, I mean, it's not in an abusive way overtly, but it's a very like my way or the highway type of thing. Yeah. I think.
Which again is fair seeing as all the things that have happened up to then.
Yeah. I think as we see, because as we go through the movie, Dr. Leo Marvin starts to unravel quite a bit. But it is pretty gradual.
Yeah. So they fish Bob out of the water, and they're like, we have to have him stay for dinner. He's like been so nice to us, and you've not been so nice to him. And what kind of person do you want your kids to see you as?
You need to be a good example for the kids.
So he stays for dinner, and he's like, oh, all of this food is so good. You make this corn by hand. It's so delicious. It's just really like over the top.
And then he's very obnoxious.
Yeah.
Because every second he's just like,
This is so good.
Like as he's eating.
Yeah.
I mean, he's enjoying the food, but still.
It's a little much. And then Dr. Marvin is like, hey, okay, you've had dinner, now you got to go. Thunderstorm immediately. They go, well, you can't just send him out. And he's like, it's fine. He can take our car into town, is whatever. Well, the car's at the pier because you told me to leave it there. Like, well, I guess he can get my raincoat and walk in the rain. Yeah, it's like, no, we can't do that. Just let him stay the night.
And this is the first time we see his outbursts. He outbursts at the dinner table where he says, would you stop making that noise? Like when he's going, every, half second. And then when they're like, well, no, we can't send him away in the rain. And then he also yells, which I think him and his family is not used to.
Yeah.
When he says, well, he can wear my raincoat.
Yeah. And then they all like, because they were all having a great time in the kitchen cleaning up and everything. Oh, he's like, it's time to go to bed.
Yeah, he was singing and cleaning the dishes with the family. Yeah. They're all having a good time.
So we got to be up early for this interview in the morning. So it's time for us to go. And that's when the outburst happened. And so his wife, Faye, is like, hey, let's be a good guy about this. Let's show the kids who you are as a man. Let's have him stay the night. He can be out in the morning. It'll be a good time. So he gives Bob a pair of his pajamas to sleep in, and they put a second bed in Siggy's room.
And Mr. Marvin has a very realistic conversation with his wife. He says, this guy is unstable.
Yeah.
He's pretended to kill himself to get access to us. Mm-hmm. He's in our home, in a room alone with our son.
Yeah.
These are all very valid.
Yeah. Very valid
concerns.
Yeah. While Bob is sitting there having a talk with their son, where their son's like, are you scared of death? Because he's like 10.
Yeah.
And Bob's like
obsessed.
No, not really scared of death. It's not like Tourette's or anything. And so he teaches their son about Tourette's, and they start shouting profanities at each other. And Dr. Marvin's like, this is so unacceptable and so inappropriate. You cannot be here anymore. Yeah. And his wife's like, oh, just let the boys be boys. Yeah. They're just being kids.
He's like, no more noise. Here on out, it's bedtime.
Yeah, and you're out by 6 o'clock, 6:30.
Yeah, he. One thing that's funny is that he says, I want some peace and quiet. And
he said, I will be quiet.
I'll be quiet. And then his son goes, I'll be peace.
dumb
that was kind of funny. It was dumb, but it was funny.
But it's cute. Yeah. So the morning comes, 6 o'clock rolls around, and Dr. Marvin cannot get Bob to wake up at all. He starts getting like super pissy about it. And 6:35 rolls around, and Bob finally rolls down the stairs, and he's like, wow, I had the craziest dream last night while Leo's trying to push him out of the house. And that's when the camera crew and everything shows up right at the same time. And they're like, we're here a little early. Is that fine? And he's like, sure, that's fine. I thought we'd set up right here in front of the fireplace. And then Bob, the kids are showing up, and they're like, yeah, this is my family. This is my wife, Faye, my daughter, Anna, and our son. And then Bob's at the door, and he goes, Siggy. He's like, yes. And they go, oh, who are you? And he goes, oh, I'm Bob. I'm one of his patients. And they're like, oh, that's a great idea. We should have one of your patients come and talk about the book, someone who's actually like benefited from it.
Yeah. This guy will not leave.
He will not
his
leave.
Family alone.
No. And and then they're like, well, we can't do the fireplace now because we need the spot for 2 people. And they're like, well, we'll just make the fireplace work. The fireplace is where we planned it. And so they start doing the interview, and Dr. Marvin is bombing the interview. So he's like choking hard.
Yeah.
And Bob is sitting there going, this man's a lifesaver. I've been his patient for 5 days. This book has turned my life around.
Yeah, he's hyping immediately.
Him up. He's hyping him up pretty good. This man saved my life. This man saved my cat and my kids from a burning building. And
he'll do the same for you.
My brain has never been so clean. It's just actually like actual glazing for Dr. Marvin. And after that, everyone's like, "Wow, the interview went really well. You did so good. Thanks, Bob." And Dr. Marvin goes, "You need to leave now.
Yeah,
you need has an actual outburst." Kicks him out of the house, and they're like, "That's so mean. You're just gonna kick Bob out of the house. He's gonna be gone forever." And he goes, "You think he's gone? You think Bob is gone?" It opens the door. He's never gone. That's the point. The point is Bob will never leave.
Yeah, he's still staying right.
That's exactly
funny.
what I thought.
Yeah,
I was like, he's just gonna be right there.
Yeah,
when he
it's
opens
funny.
the door. And so he has a great idea, which is to say that he's gonna go take Bob somewhere.
Yeah.
And takes him to psych ward to get him admitted. And they're like, "Hey, you know that we can only hold him for 24 hours unless one of the other doctors says that he needs to stay." And he's like, "That's fine.
Perfect.
You'll see it. You'll see it immediately. We'll have no problems." And he drives all the way home, and he's like, I'm finally rid of him. This is so good. He gets a call from the place, and they're like, "Hey, you need to come pick him up. He's like totally fine."
Yeah, he's literally
It's like
cracking jokes. And
he made
friends with every person.
single one of the doctors is like having a great time with him. He sees no problems. So he goes and he's like, "How do you guys not see?" He's a narcissist.
Yeah,
he's a sociopath. He's like so full of himself. He's tricking all of you. And she's like, "I highly doubt that he is tricking every single one of our doctors."
Right.
It's like it sounds like you're unraveling, and like you possibly need a couple of days.
Yeah,
so
she's like,
"Maybe
you
know
should
if you want to take a couple of days."
Yeah, maybe you should check in for a little bit, just relax.
And so he drives Bob back to the house because where else is he going to take him? And in the middle of the drive, Bob says something like, "Yeah, I just didn't vibe with any of those psychiatrists in that place as much as like we vibe." And so
we have a special.
We have a special. And I was thinking like we just got to work around your busy schedule. So like I was thinking maybe like 1 to 3 and then 5 to 7. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and so Marvin stops the car, gets Bob out of the car, and leaves him on the side of the road. It really doesn't say anything else about it. It just leaves him on the side of the road, drives off, and then gets pulled over by a cop like a mile down the road, where he sees Bob, who hitchhiked a ride, drive past him, and he goes, "Officer, make sure he's home by 7," and cracking jokes. Which throws Marvin for a fucking loop, like it would for me too. I'd be like, "There's how?
Yeah.
How do I get rid of this man?"
Yeah, it's very believable.
Yeah,
but it's so crazy because you definitely feel his stress.
Oh, for sure. The cop writes
justified.
The cop writes him a ticket. He, in frustration, accidentally backs the car into a sign, which also pops his tire. So now he has to change a tire on the side of the road, and another car drives by and splashes into a mud puddle onto his like nice clothes that he was wearing. And so everything's just like that would have gotten my wife enough. Sybil would have, at the point at which mud was on her clothes, probably would have like drove over herself. See?
Yeah.
So he eventually gets home. It's like pitch black outside. Yeah. Nobody's in the house. Very eerie. It's like, "Hey, where is everybody?" His wife goes, "We're out here in the back." And he walks into the backyard. It's a surprise party for his birthday. It's his birthday today. Everybody he loves and knows is there.
And one person that he knows and hates.
Yeah. And one of the people who he's so excited to see is his sister. Who came to visit. And they're all worried because he looks like a disaster. And he's so happy to see his sister. And Bob goes, "Yeah, we're all so excited to celebrate your day." And he fucking loses it.
He puts his arm around his sister.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, we're so happy." And he's just like, Don't touch my sister.
Starts actually like...
Literally leaps off of the stairs or the balcony where he's at and like tackles Bob into the table of gifts. And so... Yeah, he's well past reached his limit.
Yeah. And then they finally calm him down and put him upstairs. And the family sits Bob down in the living room and was like, hey, we really don't want this. Like, trust me, we all really don't want this. But with the way he's been acting specifically around you, we think it might be for the best if you aren't here when he wakes up in the morning. And Bob's like, I get it. It's fine. I just want to let y'all know I had a great vacation with y'all.
Yeah. Well, and also to mention, the whole family loves him.
The whole family loves him.
Yeah, they're like, this guy's the greatest.
Yeah. So Bob leaves. He's walking back again, and then the family goes to go find Dad. And Dad's gone. Dr. Marvin. He snuck out of the house, broke into one of the local convenience stores, and literally looks at a gun case and goes, no, too messy.
Well,
and then walks.
At first it was an axe.
Yeah.
And then he's like, no, too messy. And then he looks at the gun. He's like, no, that ain't gonna work either.
Yeah. And then so looks at the arrows and he goes, not painful enough. And then he goes to a cabinet of stump removal explosives.
Yeah.
And goes, yep, that'll work.
He lands on explosives.
Yeah. It's fucking crazy. And then he intercepts Bob on the way out of the house. And like with a rifle to his chest is like, get over here into the woods. Yeah. The family starts driving by and he goes, the family's just over there.
The fam.
Yeah, the fam. They're looking for you.
Just like you guys. The fam.
The full-time movie fam. And Bob's like, what's going on? He goes, this is a new therapy treatment we're trying called death therapy. And he goes, oh, okay, should I put my hands up? And he's like, yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, walks him over into the woods, ties him to a chair, and puts explosives around his neck with like a 20-minute timer. And is like, yep, this is it. Bye.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I get it. This is some sort of like way to scare me into dealing with my problems. You're so smart. You're so smart, Dr. Marvin. Thank you so much. He's like, yep. Haha. Oh, can you take care of my fish for me? And he goes, oh, I'll take care of him. I'll fatten him up real good and eat him. He's like, wow, you're really good at this, Dr. Marvin. I'm like scared.
Yeah.
And so Dr. Marvin goes back to his house. Like, finally, I'm free of him. There's no way he's going to be able to get out of that. I'm so excited to be finally free of him. Cuts to Bob and he goes, I've been placed in knots with an explosive around my neck. Like, my brain is trapped in knots that I have to release to be free of my problems. That's it. It's so simple. I just have to release the knots. Unties himself and goes, the therapy, it worked. Goes back to the house. The family finds Dr. Marvin by the dock and he's like, Bob's gone. And they're like, yeah, we know. And he's like, you know? I didn't hear anything go off. Did y'all hear anything go off? And then Bob walks out of the house with a massive cake and he goes, Dr. Marvin, you're a genius. You're so brilliant. He goes, how'd you get out? What did you do with the explosives around your neck? They're in the house.
The whole
house blows up.
Yeah.
Which sends Dr. Marvin into like a psychotic shock.
Yeah, he
gets put into the psych ward.
Yeah, and he just can't speak.
Yeah. And the family comes to visit and it's like, Dad, do you know it's us? We miss you, please. And then it cuts to a wedding with the sister and Bob. They're getting married and they go, if anybody objects, speak now. And he can't do it. And then they get married and he goes, no.
Yeah, he's literally.
They go, Dad, you spoke. And they're like, yeah, we're all a big happy family. And that's how it ends.
Dude, can you imagine, dude? He's literally.
Hey. You look good over there.
Look real good.
Have you thought about sharing your kindness with others?
Share the love.
Maybe like the video. Click on that subscribe button. And show your friends.
Yeah, just touch it ever so lightly, that like button. Move over to the subscribe button. Maybe tap your keyboard just a little bit. Leave a comment. Bye.
That's it.